Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Stivън Far. I work with an organization called Teach for All, which is an organization that is attempting to accelerate the progress and learning of independent organizations around the world like Teach for Bulgaria. You may not know there are approximately 35, soon we'll have 40, I think within a few years we'll have 50 countries in which there are independent organizations like Teach for Bulgaria who are working toward improving education by recruiting and selecting the nation's top future leaders into the classroom to change students' lives today, but also to give those teachers an experience that builds their leadership as agents for change in the system. I have a wonderful job that I told some of you yesterday about. My role for the last now 15 years, first at Teach for America and then more recently around the world, has been studying and learning from classrooms in low-income communities where students are making dramatic progress. The question that my team has been asking itself is, what patterns do we see in classrooms where students are growing the most? And what we're learning, as we shared yesterday, is that there are patterns. We can learn from those classrooms. In fact, I would argue, and I say this with all respect to everyone in the room who's an expert in pedagogy, and I say this as the son of a mother who is a professor of teacher pedagogy. I honestly believe there is more we can learn from those teachers in the most challenging contexts who are finding success than we can from all the books on our shelves. And I think we need to treat our strongest teachers as our greatest sources of insights, because they are innovating and adjusting to the realities right now of their students. And the fact is, we do not have many books on our shelves that tell us how to lead an education in a way that changes students' lives, students who are living in poverty. We don't have many books and insights on how to teach and how to learn in a way that changes the breadth of opportunities they have in their lives, and I believe strongly that we can learn from those teachers. Now that everyone's settled, I would like to tell you what's going to happen in this hour and the next hour, so that if you want to decide you're in the wrong place, you can leave. I'm not offended at all. I am going to, I think, Teach for Bulgaria, there's a number of organizations that are using this framework called Teaching as Leadership that we have built and grown over 12 years of study. And I am going to give a very quick and superficial overview of what that is. I'm not going to go in depth in that for two reasons. One, we talked about it, many of you were here yesterday when we talked about that some. I'm also assuming that I see many faces that I know are part of Teach for Bulgaria, and this is a framework we use. If what you were hoping for was an in-depth description of what teaching as leadership is, we won't be doing that right now. We will do a quick description. Instead, what we're going to do during this hour, and then continue, we'll have a break, and then continuing in the next one, is we are going to criticize this model. And we are going to challenge it, because honestly, that's where I am. I have spent now the last 2 years studying teachers who are working in low-income communities, many of whom are using this model, some of whom are not, and asking, what's wrong with it? So I'm going to ask your help in challenging this model and looking for implications for some challenges to this model. Because what we're looking for next is, what's the next version of this? So I'm coming here with selfish objectives. I am going to provoke you with some patterns that we're hearing, and you are going to push back and say, here's what I think the implications are. Just a quick preview, this is not going to be a usual session with me talking and you sitting. This is going to be very messy. I want to give a quick preview of what's going to happen. Around the room, there are 8 posters. Each poster describes a challenge to this model that is coming from our classrooms. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask for some help from people in the room. We're going to break into groups, and we're going to look at posters in groups for just a few minutes, and we're going to think, and you're going to ask, what about this do I agree with? What about this do I disagree with? What are the implications? And then you're going to go to the next poster, and you're going to huddle and watch, and we're going to do this, and that's going to be the source for a conversation about how we would change this. That's the idea that will take probably most of this first hour. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a discussion together. It's a big room to have a discussion, so we'll do some of that in small groups, and I'm going to just have to ask your help. This room is not set up in a way that's conducive to huddling in groups of 3 or 4 or 5, but we're going to try. And when we come back, I'm going to share some of the possible implications for how we think about teaching that come from these posters. And again, you are, I hope, going to agree with some and disagree with some. Trajan promised me that when you come to Bulgaria, people will tell you when they disagree. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to disagree and we're going to debate. So if that is not what you want, I'm not offended. There are fantastic sessions happening in other places. Please go to them. If you'd like to stay and get into this with us, that's what we're going to do. How many people in this room were here yesterday when I talked about teaching as leadership? So maybe half, a little more than half. How many people were not here yesterday but are familiar with the teaching as leadership model? Okay. For that reason, I'm not going to spend tons of time here, but I do want everyone to know what this is, why this is, and know that this resource is there in case you can find it helpful. Here's the very short version of the story. 13, 14 years ago, we began these studies in which we looked for classrooms in which students in poor communities who started the year far behind, we have all been in classrooms like that, where there's children who are growing up in poverty, children, maybe they're Roma students in the United States, maybe they're black students or they're Latino students and they're learning English as a second language. They have all these challenges and they start the year far behind, but when we look at the student achievement data at the end of the year, they're ahead. And we all think, that's interesting. We visit those classrooms over and over. We survey those teachers. We study those teachers. We surveyed their principals. We surveyed their students. We interviewed their students' families. And we put all of that in a pile, and we saw that those teachers were doing things similar to each other. In fact, we saw that they were doing 6 things similarly to each other. And you see those 6 patterns up here on the left. First, every time these teachers are setting a big goal of where their students will be by the end of the year and a vision of where their students will be 10 years from now. There's a lot of story that goes behind that, but I would actually argue that's probably the most important one up there, because when the teachers and students say, by the end of the year, we are going to, whatever it is, maybe it is, we're going to read like 3rd graders. And these 1st graders get really excited about that, and it creates a target, and it creates energy. And every day we're talking about the goal that we're going to get to. It changes the classroom. The second pattern that's up there, investing students and families. I told some stories yesterday about this. These teachers put more energy into convincing their students that they can and want to learn than they do into instructional strategies, than they do into classroom management. While they say those are important, they say, my first job is convincing my students that their hard work is going to make them smarter. Because my students tend to believe there's 2 kinds of students. There's smart students over at that good school, and there's dumb students in this classroom. They have learned from their experience that hard work does not increase their intelligence. and I have to change that. And there are many ways they do that. Tran, can I ask you to click on Invest Students and Their Families, please? What you'll notice if you go to this website is that each of these strategies has a handful of specific teacher actions under it. So if someone says, but wait a minute, how do teachers invest their students in families? Well, here's 6 specific ways. And if we click on one of those, you've done I2, let's do I2 for a second. What you get for each of those actions, and this is, by the way, somehow I get to travel the world and share this as if I created it. This is all stolen from the best classrooms we've ever seen. Everything here is stolen. So this is just organizing what we're pulling from classrooms who are getting results. We've organized the materials into 4 categories. You see them here. First, there's a how-to tab. If you're a new teacher and you want to learn how do I invest students in families, you can go and click on these. Well, here's some specific ways to provide students with different academic choices or to design your lessons with real-world assignments. The second one, can you push this tab, please? This is like the world's largest iPad. Watch. Hey, nice. If you click on that one, what you see is, you see where it says pre-novice, novice, beginning, advanced, exemplary? What that is videos of teachers doing this action really poorly, a little better, a little better, a little better, all the way to exemplary. So you can watch a teacher do this in this way. And let's go ahead, Tran, we just pick one. Let's not pick on the people who are really struggling. Give me an advanced 8th grade English. If we go there, what you have is a visit to the classroom with the materials, and if you'll scroll down a little bit, Tran, if it's possible, what you see is a discussion that's showing, go a little further. Why is this classroom advanced proficiency on that action? And you can look and see, we've had other expert teachers watch these and tell us, and what would it take to be a little better every time? Again, I'm just trying to orient you to this tool so that you can leave, and if you want to find it useful, use it, you can. Tran, can you now get us back out to the very front page of Teaching as Leadership? I started going down the patterns. Big goals, investing. The second one is we call planning purposefully. That is basically backwards planning. Every single time our strongest teachers start their planning with what they want to be true at the end of the unit of time they're planning. I actually met a teacher one time who said, she was teaching small children, I think they were kindergartner, and every time she would take them to the bathroom, it would take 20 minutes. And she said, we are going to go to the bathroom and come back in 5 minutes, and it's going to be a learning experience. That was what she was planning toward, and she planned backwards from how to go to the bathroom. And you know what? She did it. The kids lined up. She got a set of flashcards that had simple little addition, 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, whatever. The kids had the flashcards, and they passed the flashcards, and when you answered your flashcard right, you got to run into the bathroom. And when you came back out, you got a flashcard and gave it to the next person. And they had this little system, boom, 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 boom. They came back and they had practiced math. She backwards planned it. The next one, execute effectively. Very simply, that is teachers who are saying, I am going to implement my plan, watching and listening to understand what my students are understanding along the way, and if they're not understanding, I'm not going to follow my plan because I can't. I said I was going to go quick. Every one of these triggers all these stories. Let me tell you another just great story. I went into this classroom. This was in California. A teacher was teaching history. They were reviewing for some kind of history assessment thing, and she was asking questions of the room. And she's asking, like, okay, why did the South want to secede from the North, before the Civil War in the United States, whatever. And she had all of these questions. And as she was asking questions, all the students were holding up their hands, and they would go like this. I'm like, what is going on here? What is she doing? What are they doing? She had taught her children the alphabet in sign language. And when she was asking a question that had an answer that was a name or a date or whatever, the students were in the habit of holding up the first letter of what they were thinking. And she was teaching along, and when she was saying, like, where did this battle happen? And everyone was holding up the first letter, she just kept going because they had it. But when she's asking the question and everyone has a different letter, she stopped and she went in to see, what are you thinking? And I thought, she's learned to read their minds while she's teaching, and it's changing everything, right? Because she's not following her plan, she's following her students. Effective execution. Continuously increasing effectiveness. This is simply the idea that our strongest teachers do not create systems and they stay the same all year. They experiment because they're thinking, how do I get to the best results? And if something might be a little bit better, they try something different. It's like they see their classroom as a laboratory. Give lots of examples of that, but it took a while to really recognize that our average teachers' classrooms have the same systems on the first day that they do in the last day. Our strongest teachers are trying new things, and sometimes they're failing. Sometimes it's a disaster, but sometimes it's not. The last one, the working relentlessly piece, we talked about this yesterday. That is, in essence, defining your job in terms of outcomes. And I gave a couple of examples yesterday, but I mean, we can give many, you know. Cami Anderson was a teacher who I studied, who, by the way, is now the superintendent of Newark schools in the United States. She had a child who every morning at 10 to 10:30 became an enormous behavior problem. She came to understand that this child wasn't having breakfast. She also learned that this child had diabetes and had low blood sugar and had a number of sort of challenges. Tammy didn't say, I'm a teacher, that's not my job. Tammy went to the cafeteria and said, I'm going to steal an apple and a granola bar every single morning and put it in my drawer. And they said, okay. And she did, and she told that student, we set a timer, and every morning at 9:45, I want you to go over there and I want you to eat that. And it changed everything. It's a very small thing, but there are some people who would say, that's not my job. Tammy said, my job is getting this student to read on a 4th grade level, and if that's in my way, it's my job. This is teaching as leadership. Now we're going to challenge it. I do promise that in the second part there will be time we're going to ask questions and all of that kind of stuff, but I want to get to the hard, challenging pieces of this. All right. I am going to ask your help because, like I said, this is going to get messy. Really going to get messy. Especially, it's wonderful that so many of you are here, but I didn't plan on that. So, we're going to adjust. First thing I need to happen is I need, can I have hands raised of people who speak Bulgarian and English both well enough that you would be willing to serve as sort of immediate translation of posters? Can I get people to come? I need 16 of you up here. Can I get you all to come up here? And if we have extras, I'm going to send people back. 16 people who are willing to serve as Bulgarian English translators of posters. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Will you count and tell me how many people we have? Okay. I am going to, another trick, you know, you learn from good teachers over time that I wished I had used when I was a teacher. I'm going to ask no one to move until I give all of the instructions. Okay? Nobody move, all of the instructions. I'm also going to check for understanding. So please be listening because I may ask you to tell the whole room what the instructions are. Okay? Is this 16 people, more or less? Okay. first thing I'm going to ask you all to do is watch me. I'm going to show you where the posters are, and you are going to go in pairs and stand by each poster. So we have one poster here, we have one poster here, we have one poster at that window right back there. Do you see it back there? Yep. We have one poster back by that blue box. We have one in the middle, we have one in that corner, and we have one in this corner. Your assignment right now, perfectly silently, so I can keep going with everyone else, is to put yourself in pairs at each poster. All right, y'all go. Thank you. Oh, yes, yes, right. I want you to do 3-digit multiplication while you get ready with a poster. All right, we have 2 at that poster, we have 2 at that poster, we need 2 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, right here. Sorry, I forgot. There was one behind you and there's one more right here. All right, that wasn't too bad. Now, again, no one's going to move 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 16. All right, this is going to work. No one's going to move until we give all the instructions. But here's what we're going to do. I am going to assign pairs of rows to a poster. When we say go, you are going to get up and go to that poster. You two are going to be a team. One of you is going to just hold the poster like this, and the other is going to read it in Bulgarian instead of English. Okay? Everyone is going to listen hard and think about 1, 2, or 3 of these questions. What about that idea? In my experience, what experience do I have that validates that idea? Question number 2, what experience do I have that challenges that idea? Question number 3, what is a concrete implication of this idea for my work? 3 things: challenge, validation, implication. Okay. The way this is going to work is we are going to rotate around the room. This is where it's going to get messy. You're going to have just 4 or 5 minutes at each one. I'm going to set a timer, and I'm going to be wandering around and listening too. You all, just a little thing, you all are pretty close together for this sort of grouping. You all can figure that out and where you want to shift. So you're going to need to quickly say, this is what was on the poster in Bulgarian, and then in the time you have left, you all can start to share with each other, you know what, this is what I don't like about this, or this is an implication, or in my experience, this is so true, and here's why. Now, what are these things? Where did this come from? Not exactly. Here's what happens. This is where these came from. The question that my team has been asking itself now for the last 2 years is, when we look at our most successful classrooms around the world, what patterns do we see in those classrooms that are louder in the classrooms than they are in this model? What is happening in these classrooms that seems bigger and more important than seems to be reflected in this model? And when we took all of that, there were 8 things that keep showing up in our strongest classrooms that if I am as critical as I can be of this work, I would say I'm not sure those are really represented here. But I'm also not really sure. So these are questions. Each of these is a question for us. So that's what we're going to do to give ourselves some fodder. I am not sure, depending on timing, whether everyone will get to every single poster. But we are going to try, okay? Now, I said that I was going to pick on somebody to say what the instructions are, and I'm going to pick on you right here. Will you stand up and real loudly tell us what you think is about to happen?
Well, rotationally, rotationally we have to go through each poster. We have 4 or 5 minutes, and we have to think about what validates what's written on the posters, what are the challenges for us, and what are the implications. And after these 5 minutes, we just get back together and we
And when are you going to go to the posters?
When you say so.
And how are you going to... And how are you going to know which poster to go to?
I think I'm going to choose the closest to me.
No. Very close. I'll give you 90%. I am going to say right now, these 2 rows, you're going to go to this corner. These 2 rows, you're going to go to that back corner with pan. All right? These 2 rows, you're going to go right back here. Tell me your names, somebody. Okay. These 2 rows, you're going to go right here. Wasava. All right? These 2 rows, y'all are just going to go right there. These 2 rows, you're going to go over here with Daniel. Okay? Oh, this is actually going to work. These 2 rows, you're going to go in this corner. These 2 rows, you're going to start right there. Everyone be, whoa, 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 whoa. Is there anyone, this is important, and I want you to be brave and raise your hand if the answer is yes. Is there anyone who does not understand what's about to happen? Please ask, because someone else probably doesn't either. All right, chaos begin. Let's go. Oh, that was a great question. Clockwise or counterclockwise? I will tell you this again when I interrupt you. We are all going to go this way. Okay, can I ask everyone, don't move, just stop talking. Can we get everyone's attention in the middle of the room? Can we get everyone's attention, please? Okay, what's going to happen right now is you're going to set the poster down, shift one way this direction, and we're going again. I'm starting the timer right now. So go. Wait, the people holding the posters, you move too. Everybody moves. The people holding the posters move also. Daniel, you move also. Yeah, everybody move, including the people holding the posters. You move too, so you get to see a new one also. No, you leave your poster. Drop the poster and go. All the time. Right, otherwise y'all won't get to see the different posters.
Ideally, do you want conversation in these groups as well as digesting the poster? Because
Yeah, if there's time.
I see more reading than conversing at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let me just say, can I have your attention please one more moment? Here's the messy. If you can get quickly through the basic ideas of the posters, please do turn to partners in conversation and go to those 3 questions. What in your experience validates? What challenges? What are the questions? I'm not giving you enough time for deep reflection on these at the moment, but we're going to come back together for that. But that's the idea. So go ahead, quickly get through the poster and start discussing, and then I'll interrupt you. All right, can I get each group to stop talking and turn and look to the middle of the room? And when I can see all faces, I know we're ready. Each group, can you stop talking and look this way? Look this way. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know some of you don't have the earphones. If you speak English, please pass this on. That time was different. The first time, what I saw was people reading posters. This time I saw a little bit of quick reading, then people started to argue with each other. That's good. That's what we want. Get enough from the poster to start the conversation, and then we get going. Next, I'm going to start the timer. Drop the poster and go again. Okay, can I ask you to stop your conversations and turn and look to the middle of the room, please? Stop your conversations and turn to the middle of the room. Stop your conversations and turn to the middle of the room. Okay, this is good. The next level of improvement is it's much harder to stop your conversations. This is good. Okay, everyone turn. Let's go one more. Okay, can I have your attention, please? I'm stopping you just a tiny bit early because of the timing. If we move right now, we can get one more in before the break. So let's quickly drop the poster, go to the next one, and then I'm going to call you back together and give you some homework over the break, and then we're good. Go to the next one quickly. We only have about 6 more minutes. Okay, thank you. Can I have everyone just turn, stop and turn, don't go anywhere, stop and turn and look to the middle of the room, please? Can I get the attention of the people who held posters? Can you raise your hands? If you held a poster and translated, raise your hand. 1, thank you for your help and the translation. Yes, thank you. 2, would you please simultaneously translate what I'm saying right now to the group in case people aren't hearing? So just right now, you should be talking while I'm talking. Our time in the first hour is over. If I'm remembering correctly, your group got to see 5 of the 8 ideas. You are not going to have time when we come back to do the same model of seeing them. I invite you to go look with a friend if you want during the break, but also when we come back, I will give headlines of each of the 8 so that we're all on the same page together to trigger our conversation. You have homework during the coffee break. Your homework is to find somebody who is in this room and share with them any of the 3 questions. What is something that you saw or heard in a discussion that you feel like your experience validates? Or share something that you think, in my experience, I would challenge that idea. Or share a concrete, actionable implication of the idea in your work. That is, if I took this idea of thinking about relationships differently, if I took that truly seriously in my work, whatever that work is, I would do things differently like this. I am going to call on people to share what they shared with someone. So you're on the hook for the homework. Okay? We have about 20-25 minutes for coffee. It's right here on this floor. If you want to come back, we're going to continue the conversation in 20-25 minutes. And one more announcement.
Да, колеги, за тези от вас, които искат да посетят и други workshopи, само искам да ви кажа, че в тази зала продължаваме с втората част на Стивън. В зала Рила, която е на същия етаж, ще има workshop на тема въвеждане на млади учители в професията, водена от доцент Жулиета Стефанова от Великотърновския университет. И долу на първият етаж ще има workshop на тема как да провеждаме ефективни наблюдения в класната стая с цел по-доброто професионално развитие на учителите. Благодаря ви.